I'm James Bradford III, and started Troisième Limited in 2012, and we're a contemporary design company. That's how I like to call it. We currently make clothes though. Troisième is something that's unique to myself. So being a third is what differentiated me from my dad and my grandfather. So bringing those aspects into the brand helps me like differentiate myself from other people making clothes as well. And the French thing comes in. I took French in high school, just like everybody had to take a foreign language mostly. And I like the culture that I was learning about, you know, their influences and stuff like that. So I started looking up French words, and it came to like, I was like, man, what's third in French? Because everybody knows about trois. It's just three in French. And then I was like, all right, so I don't want people to think it's like menage. So yeah, so I mean that's basically where it all boils down to, and that's where a lot of the themes come from in the clothes. And it kind of gave me a foundation of where to start the brand. We started off at Tuskegee University, where I was doing my master's program in systems engineering. So it's kind of where I get some of my design inputs and I don't know, get a lot of my ideas basically from my education. There was one course in school where you had measurements and analysis. So basically you have to figure out the dimensionality and how things measure up and basically make things fit together properly so that, you know, an engine will work properly and it'll function the way it's supposed to. And clothing is pretty much the same way. You have to know how a shirt is put together so that it fits well. You have to know how certain fabrics are made, and how they lay, and how those things work together in order for it to become an actual decent piece of clothing, at least, you know. Because just sewing it together doesn't make it a t-shirt. It's how it's sewn together and how it fits on the person. If it ends up like one shoulder too long, and you know, then your measurements was off. So incorporating those things in my designs and changing certain lines to make it fit a certain way, feel a certain way is essential. And I think engineering helped with that a lot. So there were some guys in high school that already had an established t-shirt brand. And a couple of the older guys that I knew were actually making t-shirts themselves. And they were kind of big influences on me early, where we'll get this paint, and basically me and a couple of my friends, we would just be in my bathroom, either spray painting t-shirts, like making tape stencils, and like it was terrible. I hope no. Well, I'm pretty sure the pictures out there is cool. I like to see it actually. It was pretty bad. I noticed one that I made for my senior trip that it was spray painted for Tuskegee. It said Tuskegee across the chest. Like it was bad, man. Yeah. So the first design was just me experimenting with kind of getting back to the same thing where it wasn't something I could just buy. So I decided to make it myself, basically. I initially started with like shoes. So I initially started coloring shoes. That's kind of what I was known for, more so than clothes. So like I said, I had a lot of Air Force Ones, but before I was able to get a job and buy my own stuff, I would only get 2 pairs of shoes a year. It would be a black pair and a white pair. So I had to make those pairs last as long as possible. So instead of buying new shoes, I just color them. So I get a Sharpie and go to town on the shoes, making it whatever color I needed it to be for either that day, that week, that month, for whatever time period I wanted it to, whatever time period fit, whatever clothes that I had. So it kind of differentiated me in those terms, even though like people knew I was coloring them. So like by the time I was done with it, like it'd be 9 different colors on the shoe because it's a permanent marker and I can't get it off. So I'll try and scrub that shit like motherfucker to get the damn color off so I can get it back white. It didn't always work out, but yeah, I had some crazy times coloring shoes, and I tried to take a shock off the back of one of these sneakers and put it on some other shoe. It was a lot of experimenting going on in my room. But yeah, I kind of took a hiatus from it because I was trying to focus on starting my career and making sure I was good at my job so I could pay bills like everybody else. But I had my girl around me and one of my good friends that were both interested in fashion, and they reinvigorated that spark to get back into it. And I started creating some pieces that I really liked. There was the fuzzy TEF shirts, and what else was in that collection? The Crate V jacket, where it kind of had the same kind of feel, but it was a satin bomber jacket almost, and it was stitched on the back, and all that stuff was handmade. So I started finding a groove where I kind of figured out, and stuff started to work. Ended up having a pop-up shop on South Street, on Bainbridge, and turnout was well, and it was a good look.
What did you notice was starting to work, like, as far as like the groove?
So it was the simpleness of the designs. I was trying to make things too difficult before. I was trying too hard, basically. And I found out that people didn't really like the difficult stuff. It was either too complicated or it didn't make sense. And for that collection, I simplified things down to either 1 or 2 colors and just texture. And that was one of the turning points for me, that showed me that it was actually possible to be good at this. So the transition from that groove to now was a difficult transition, because after that groove, I was trying to replicate that same feeling instead of just creating something new. And it wore on me so much that I had to stop making those shirts. And I know people kind of got frustrated with me about that, because I was making all those things by hand and it was taking time, and it was frustrating as a motherfucker, where it's like 40 angles that I had to cut out of this fabric that didn't stay in place. I had to hold it down. It got frustrating. So I had to take some time away from that and start to think of some new things. And this new collection, it took a lot of the manufacturing out of my hands. I forced myself not to actually do anything myself, and allow more seasoned experts to do their job and trust them to actually make my vision a reality. So with the new collection, it's still a theme from that I've kind of used throughout the brand, which is war. And the camo signifies that actual combat. But then the plaids is that daily conflict that you see. It's a universal material, I would say, or it's a universal fabric that it doesn't matter who you are, you will always see somebody with a plaid or a tartan, whatever you want to call it. And they'll have it on, but you'll see them going to work or doing their daily routine with it, and they'll have to be going through their own personal struggles. And that's kind of how those things gel in a way. The main thing was I wanted to base it off of World War III. So if you think about World War III, it's not a normal war and physical. It's not a physical war. So that's kind of where the plaids come in, and the camo is just showing you that, like, yeah, it's you fighting. You gotta fight every day. So with all the collections, I try to incorporate some type of texture and function. With the current pieces, for these, they have a suede collar, which suede inside collar, and the under collar as well as suede to add that texture. So it's soft on the neck and it's comfortable to wear, as well as embroidered on the left chest, just to add that detail, and it kind of reminds you of like a badge or something that you'll get in the military. So that's part of the war as well. And on the sleeve, it's kind of hard to see, but it has a dart to fit the contours of the elbow, so that it fits you well. And it also has the suede on the inside cuff of the shirts, so that on your wrist it feels good. But they're also 2 inches longer in the back than they are in the front. So when you sit down, it doesn't untuck. Like if you tuck your shirts in for work or you wear it to work, it still fits well, and it's tailored, it's tapered to slim fit, so that it fits the body well. I want to talk to something I just thought about that I try and do. I try and make it both work and after hours. So when I try and design a piece, I want it to be worn at all times. I know it's kind of difficult to do sometimes, but majority of the time, I want the client to be able to wear it wherever, whenever. And with this current collection, making the shirts for work as well as after hours was essential in the design. So it could be worn tucked in and untucked. And I didn't want them to bunch around the waist, so you get that male muffin top on. So I tapered the design to fit the contours of the body, as well as making it longer in the back, so that once you sit down and you move your arms or anything, it doesn't untuck in the back. So those were some essential components to making this current shirt.